Yo, what is good, everybody? What is good, yo? Oga da boga. Um, we got ourselves an interesting look into episode 7 with just how crazy this world can get, and not only how crazy it can get, but how quickly um, we could just lose some people, or that if one person isn't on their game and could have their lives taken away, it seemingly can leave a hole in everybody's game plan and literally almost gets you killed because one or two people lose their cool and boom, you find yourself in a real tight spot where you're pretty much stuck protecting more than you are attacking. And that pretty much happens with the dwarf and the lizard guy after Goblinslayer gets handled this week. But before we get to that, we gotta talk about the priestess or the maiden or whatever. Not our actual priestess, but the one that made the prediction that Goblin Slayer is going to quote unquote disappear sooner or later. And it wasn't even sooner or later. She just said he was going to disappear. And it's funny that all of a sudden, as soon as he's supposed to quote unquote disappear, some interesting things are starting to be said, to kind of nullify that, to kind of get under the Goblin Slayer's skin, so to speak. And for some reason, the person that was like yelling at him when we like zoomed in or like kind of found the source of who was doing it, it was like another goblin. So I'm not sure if this is like foreshadowing of, like, because first of all, it was like the dice rolling, which with the dice rolling, it could be a number of things. It could be, like they said in the beginning of the show, like the dice were pretty much just a game to higher beings. But on the flip side of that, you have, people like Goblin Slayer who supposedly are nothing compared to them and just part of their game that they're playing. So it's like where are they? And if I am correct, is the priestess one of these people? Because she seemingly seems, or like she feels like she is. And because of that, I feel like that's where my like anger came with her saying that, the Goblin Slayer is going to disappear. It's like clearly all humans can disappear at any time, because they're human and they make mistakes or they fight battles that they necessarily can't completely win. So to state the obvious is kind of messed up, but at the same time, it felt like she knew the outcome of this battle, and I feel like that kind of is foretold, like as if she can see, like she said, these eyes have seen many, many things, like more than you can like imagine type of deal is where she was kind of going with that. And imagine the reason why we went into the Canaries, the point of view from at the very end, is probably at one of her abilities to be able to look through the eyes of creatures, through the eyes of, anything that she so chooses. And maybe she did witness every single part of this, and that's kind of another reason why she can say the things she said, as in, Goblin Slayer is going to disappear and all this and that. Maybe this was um, not so much her sight as much as maybe her power to see in the future. But if it is, it also doesn't make sense because he didn't disappear. He's very injured, but he didn't. He's not gone anywhere. So um, that's already, still it's still in the air that that can still happen. Uh, but it's weird to me that throughout this episode, we're still like subtly reminded that these girls are definitely the main cause to why Goblin Slayer is in a worse position than he should have to be. I mean, if he could poison, if he could set on fire, if he could drown them, he might not have been in some of these rooms. He might have drowned before going, type of deal. So to think that these women literally, by pushing some rules on him, probably got him in a worse spot than he had to be. I think it's pretty telling of just how much influence they have on him and how much they can continuously to, like remind him that, hey, you need to do this because you promised, or, you know, we got to also remember he cared enough about the priestess to look for her. So we're getting some real character development for Goblin Slayer. The first real thing that triggered him, as well as made him reach out and look after her, is for some reason I think she sounds just like his sister when she was screaming and like in pain and stuff like that. So that's already like a very bad trigger for him. Um, Not to mention that after hearing it, he kind of just like he went into a mode where he started remembering even more dark stuff than he's, already like told us about. This man said, I heard that assassins used to use hair of humans because they wouldn't break that easily, and straight up chokes out a, almost literally chokes to death a goblin champion. And this is where like the show gets kind of like buggy and like, it's kind of like, did this really just end this way? Like, ah, it felt weird. This episode definitely felt weirder than most. And that is mainly because they straight up, you know, we had this character who, or we have this monster that is like a big problem, and he kind of just loses an eye, gets choked out, and then walks away from all this. So it's like, whoa, 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 where in the heck is this guy going? And if he is going somewhere, what the heck is going to happen to Goblin Slayer if he's still down here with these, uh, the Goblin Champion, all those goblins that ran away? Sure, they might be afraid of him for now, but they're only afraid because the big guy was afraid. So if the big guy gets a little bit get more angry and wants to go in for some revenge, all those goblins are coming with them. So these are one of those things where you see it happening, but you're like, oh my God, please, please tell me this isn't gonna happen this way. And of course, it happens that way. Um, but I mean, hey, you kind of start to expect these shows to at least keep you on your toes, because if not, you end up just getting the show that's pretty predictable. I mean, me being a big time anime watcher and not a casual and stuff like that, it was pretty clear to me that they're not going to kill Goblin Slayer. The guy's name is in the title of the show, and he's just now starting to develop a lot more of a like as a character and all these different things. So to then just go off and kill him would be pretty pointless, in my opinion. And then, not to mention, the girl who said he was going to disappear, uh, seemingly has someone that is the opposite of her, and just thought he was going to, die and he can't save anybody. By saying all those things, though, is what actually pushed him to get up, to feel, anxious enough to go back in that fight, which his key words he said is bullshit. Like, I ain't going out like this, and if I do go out like this, I'm standing up on my own 2 feet and I'm going out like that compared to just laying on my back. So, Goblin Slayer truly becoming a monster every single time we see him in these situations. He just seems to get more and more deadly as time progresses towards these goblins, and the more things he learns, the deadlier he becomes as well. I mean, for Christ's sake, he can use hair to strangle a goblin champion. And that's after he's already lost a ton of blood and has been knocked unconscious. So, yeah, this man is absolutely dirty. And I honestly don't think we've even seen close to where um, like Goblin Slayer is going to reach in the pinnacle of like his skills. I mean, we gotta also remember that there's people on our team who are sabotaging him not to use the most creative means necessary. um, but at the same time, we gotta give them their slack. Like, I guess they just don't like to see that type of thing happen. I mean, they're goblins who rape, kill, and pillage, and they don't want to see them burn or get waterboarded. It's like, I don't know. It feels like it's too early for that, but at the same time, it also makes sense because now that everybody has just experienced this experience of straight terror and thinking of like a near death experience together. And even Goblin Slayer still experienced this near death experience. He is literally on the brink of death. Um, I think it's a good, uh, I think it's a good segue into, um, just the overall theme of if the Goblin Slayer is hurt and the Goblin Slayer is in this situation, with the people that he has, they're going to try to protect him. They're going to try to make sure, he gets out as safely as possible, if not the safest. And because he's in such a dire situation right now, I think it's pretty, like common for them to be, extra quick when it comes down to getting him out of this situation, or just being extra quick to react so he can, live and stuff like that. So we're really in a position of seeing this show uh, really show who they care about, show who is important to these characters that we're watching. And I mean, sure, Goblin Slayer is rather important to them, but at the same time, if they all of a sudden think that they can make it out alive, they might have to leave Goblin Slayer. But I mean, come on, they're not really gonna leave him. So, if anything, after he gets enough consciousness, he's going to probably want to kill the one that caused that much damage to their group. I mean, you gotta imagine as like morale. Um, you really want to be able to feel like you can face anything with your group. And we got to remember that these champions were completely given, um, we were given info about these champions beforehand, before they even showed up. So we knew that there was goblins out there much stronger than the even classes that Goblin Slayer could reach, or that he isn't even up to yet as an adventurer. So if that was the case, and he just fought one and pretty much almost choked out with a piece of hair, and mind you, he also punches its eyeball out and like holds it. Oh man, this episode was just brutal, and I loved every aspect of it. Um, the only thing that I have a problem with is the notion of just I really wanted the priestess to die after what she did. Like, I understand that she was feeling some type of way, like, oh my god, Olga the Boga is going to die, but when you think about it, the elf has shown, this almost, if not the same type of interest as the priestess. And I don't feel like the elf dropped her guard as nearly as much as the priestess did. Mind you, to be fair, her spell probably wouldn't have lasted much longer because, I mean, she had been holding up this spell before the monsters had even broken in. So that's always you got to keep in mind. Like, hold on a second. Oh, I needed to sneeze. But to put it lightly, she did supposedly the best she could with the traumatic stress of seeing someone important to you coughing up blood and practically dying. So, I mean, I gotta think back on it and be like, I can't necessarily hate her for something that probably all humans would have done, that, aren't necessarily hardcore veteran and not haven't been, completely lost their mind to seeing certain events and stuff like that, like Goblinslayer. She's still relatively normal, as normal can be, as like seeing other people being like taken out the way she did and stuff. But she seemingly is the moral support. I mean, you gotta remember these are the same types of goblins that did all the people very dirty that she had her first adventure with, and she's still talking about she doesn't want them waterboarded, and she tried to protect the kids of the goblins. All these different things that, truly show that regardless of what's going to happen, she still wants to keep her moral compass. And with Goblin Slayer being knocked pretty much unconscious and losing all this blood and still caring about her, it just goes to show that she might have the most impact on his character. Even though everybody who was in danger was definitely on Goblin Slayer's mind. So it's just nice to see him um, getting this much development this quickly because, I mean, shoot, they didn't really have to do any of that, if you really think about it. But they are taking that route, which I appreciate. So now we'll be able to see Olga Raboga probably risk his life to save people compared to just going out of his way to kill goblins because he wants to. Not to mention, he pretty much knew that the goblins weren't the ones like calling the shots. Like it was not a goblin anymore, or it could have been like a shaman, something higher than a goblin. Um, and none of that like made Goblin Slayer even second guess doing it anymore. This is kind of coming down to a point where if there is any type of goblin involved, it's okay. Like he'll work around it, and it kind of makes sense that he would be so vulnerable to like heavier attacks because supposedly all of his stuff that he uses is meant to fight goblins. So another way that these guys just make this show make that much more sense and it feels that much more realistic is by saying, hey, like he's fighting a champion with goblin slaying armor. You know what I mean? Like this guy is not using what he could be using, at his rank. He could be using probably a lot higher stuff, or at least he should be able to afford it by doing higher level missions. And of course, he doesn't really necessarily care about any of that. He cares about being efficient in fighting goblins. So he literally almost took out a goblin champion with under gear and a group of people who are decent at hunting goblins, but they never been too much help against these bigger opponents. And with them still being stuck in the sewers, I want to know if this show is going to go with the old trove of, oh, they escaped and you just didn't see it, but they escaped, or are we going to literally get their escape next week's episode? Because from what we saw, Olga Burger Goblinslayer is straight up unconscious. You know, he's straight up in here knocked out after giving, everybody the hope that they needed. Like, oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And he gave everybody a good, nudge to see if they were okay. Excuse me. And to think now that he's still on the brink of death and pretty much has passed out from blood loss yet again. Um, I think we're going to, maybe when he's out cold, he's going to have more conversations with this person who was talking all that trash, saying he's useless and should die like a nail in the coffin and all this stuff. Maybe he's going to have a bigger role during this time of Goblin Slayer's recovery. I'm not sure at all. Or maybe we're going to hear that maiden talk to Goblin Slayer because it seemed like someone was watching out of that bird's eye view. That's why it was blinking so much and um, had like the perfect sights on where everybody was. It just made sense to me that someone would be able to use that bird and see through whatever the bird is seeing. Because I mean, come on, that's not too far fetched anymore in this series. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I could go on for quite a bit talking about this show and having predictions of where it could go and who's gonna do who to who, things like that. But I do want to get into this sword art. I gotta still watch it, so if you guys are excited for some sword art content, make sure you guys drop a like and subscribe to let me know you guys are watching and you guys are enjoying the content. And then not only that, make sure you hit that notification bell to get notified instantly when I drop my video on sword art, so you'll be notified and can be the first one to check it out. So with that, everybody, thank you so much for the support. I am the Anime G, and I will talk to y'all in the next one. All right, peace.